Hello everyone! Today we're going to be talking about pistol options for people with less than large hands. Let's start with hand size. The critical dimensions are trigger reach and hand length. So for me, my trigger reach, if I just stick the tape in here right between my index finger and my thumb, is about 3.5 inches. My thumb is about 2.25. Now, my hand length, I am measuring from the meaty part of my thumb, right there in the palm of my hand, out to the tip of my finger. So we're probably looking at somewhere around 5.5 inches, somewhere around there anyways. So you might have to take out a measuring tape and measure your hands along the same way that I did, so that you can use that as a reference. First up is the Model 1911. If you look for suggestions from knowledgeable shooters, they may say that the Model 1911 is a good choice. There are a lot of good reasons for this. It's a single action pistol. So that means that the trigger reach is actually quite short. So that's the dimension from here, where the web of your hand sits, to the front face of the trigger. In this case, the measurement is about 2.5 inches. It's also a single stack, which means the pistol is slim and has a small grip circumference. In this case, the grip has a circumference of 5 3/16 of an inch. Now the way I'm measuring it is about an inch away from the bottom of the trigger guard right here, and you measure all the way around, something like that. So this comes in at about 5 3/16 or about 5 3/4, depending on how you measure it. That's actually quite small for most pistols. The grip shape on a Model 1911 is quite unique. It's long because of the 45 ACP cartridge, which isn't a good thing, but the grip is quite slim. And the unique shape of the front strap here is actually a boon to people with less than large hands. And the reason why is that you can get your fingers around and kind of hook it in to this area in the front. It's a little slimmer, and you can actually get a fair amount of lateral compression with your fingers. Like, see how far my fingers come around the corner? If I get my thumb up here in the safety where it should be, and there's a good amount of trigger reach for me, I can get in there without touching the frame too much. Look where my fingers are. They're actually quite a ways back, and I can actually squeeze on that pistol pretty good. So that's pretty nice. Also, the Model 1911 has all kinds of upgrade parts and bits and pieces that you can add to make it more comfortable for you. You can have a nice big long beaver tail on here. Like this area here is a little ouchy sometimes. That'll get right into the web of your hand and chew it up. But you can reduce that with an aftermarket beaver tail. You can get extended safeties, just in case if your thumbs are a little short. You can get your thumb on there with an extended safety. And there's a whole bunch of different types of extended magazine releases. So you may be able to get your thumb on there. I can't, but you might be able to. There's also a good selection of slimmer grips and grips with cutouts here where you can get your thumb through and hit that magazine release. Next up is another Browning design, the High Power. A lot of people will make this recommendation for you as an option for people with less than large hands. Like the Model 1911, it's a single action pistol, so that means that the trigger reach is actually quite short. In this case, the trigger reach is measuring in at about 2.5 inches or about 2.6 inches. So it's pretty close to a Model 1911 in reach. But unlike the Model 1911, it is a double stack pistol. Now I have aftermarket grips on this pistol, which are a little bit slimmer than the average. With the average grips on, the circumference of this grip, it measures in at a quite chunky 5.625 or 5 5/8 of an inch in circumference. So although the trigger reach is short, the grip is quite chunky. and in a lot of ways it's flat. Like if you can look at it from the bottom here, the sides are flat, the front is flat, and so is the back, and the radiuses here are quite small. So if your hand doesn't quite fit where the radiuses are, you might find it quite uncomfortable. It's actually quite wide, and this is with slimmer grips, and I'm still having trouble, you know, if this is centered on my hand well, so I can get on the trigger well, I can get my hand or my thumb on the safety, I'm just coming around the edge of the front strap, and it doesn't give me a lot of purchase to give good lateral compression on the grip. Not as much as the Model 1911. But as an added bonus, the high power actually has a safety in a good spot for people with shorter thumbs. So that's really close. I can get right up there with the knuckle of my thumb. There's plenty of leverage on here to actuate that safety, which is super important for a single action pistol like this one. So if you've got short fingers, but you've got a long hand, this may work better for you than it does for me. So next up is the CZ P10c. Now most striker-fired pistols are quite similar in size and shape. Same thing with trigger reach and grip circumference. But the CZ P10c is slightly smaller than most other double-stack striker-fired pistols. The trigger reach on this model is about 2.675 inches. That's from the back strap to the front of the trigger. And the circumference of the grip, with the smallest back strap on here, is about 5 7/16 of an inch. And it's about a 1/16 of an inch smaller than most of its competitors. The other cool thing about the P10c is that the front of the strap and the rear of the back strap is very rounded. CZ is really good at making an ergonomic shape for their pistols. So even if your fingers don't quite match up with the curves on it, the radiuses are quite large, so it's comfortable. It doesn't feel like there's a corner jutting into your hand like, say, a Glock 17 does. The other thing you need to watch out for in striker-fired pistols, this one included, is that if your finger is a little bit shorter than mine, then you may have an issue with reaching the dongle, the safety dongle on here. Now I can, but if my grip is slightly off and my finger isn't quite on there right, I can get into a situation where I can't deactivate the safety, or it hooks up and delays my trigger pull. So if you've got fingers that are shorter than mine, like the trigger reach, then you may have issues even with a CZ P10c. In that case, I would recommend going to a single stack striker-fired pistol like a Glock 48 or a 43. Now I don't have one of those to show you. I used to, but the trigger reach is about the same. It's about 2 5/8 of an inch, but it's a lot slimmer. The grip circumference is only 5 inches on a Glock 48. It makes a big difference, half an inch. And the model is quite a bit slimmer, so it's just enough to give you that extra reach to get in there and pull on that trigger without having issues with the safety. Now the G48 is quite nice for less than large hands in that, yes, it does have flat sides and it has flat and front and back straps just like its larger cousins, but because the circumference is smaller, those small radiuses here, here, and here, and here, especially these ones up in the front, well, it's a lot easier for smaller hands to get in there. Like those small circumferences will fit in the bendy parts of your hands a lot easier than a standard double stack striker-fired pistol. The other thing I should add is that if you have short thumbs, then there's no safeties to worry about on striker fired pistols. Well, most of them anyways. So you won't have to worry about actuating a safety that's too far away for your short thumbs to reach. Now the last pistol I've got to show you is a bit of an oddball. It is a Jericho model 941F. Now this is a Israeli police trade-in pistol. So it's a little rough around the edges, but like its CZ75 cousin, it's a very good option for people with less than large hands. Now the CZ75 is one of those pistols that is recommended a lot, and in single action mode, the trigger reach on it is about 2.6 inches. And the grip circumference of a CZ75 is 5 5/8, so it's actually quite chunky. But it does have a well-rounded front strap and rear strap, so it makes it quite comfortable, and it is a good option for a person with less than large hands. Now the 941F that you see here is even smaller. Now it is a single action only pistol. The Israeli gunsmiths did some work to the triggers, and yeah, it's single action only. And because of that, the trigger reach is slightly smaller at more model 1911-ish or high power reach of 2.5 inches. So it's one of the shortest ones in this example. The grip is also quite a bit smaller. I don't know if you can notice here, but this is scalloped out right in this area where your middle fingers are doing most of the work for gripping. So this circumference here is quite small. Believe it or not, the grip circumference on a 941F with the original grip paddles is 5 3/16 of an inch, which is probably the smallest double stack full-size pistol I have found so far. Now both the CZ75 and the Jericho have very large radiuses on the front and the back and the corners, which make this very, very comfortable to grip. Like, these are quite rounded. The beaver tail and everything is quite smooth, so you can really get your hand in there, get your thumb up there on the safety where you need to actuate it. Make sure that your finger is in a good spot for that single action pull. It's quite nice. And you can see here my fingers wrap around quite a bit. I can get a good amount of lateral pressure here on the grip. So believe it or not, but this may be a very good option for you if you have less than large hands. These are priced quite well, and they're all steel. And they're heavy, and they make great range guns. So something to think about, eh? It's a little out of the ordinary, but it's a good option for people with less than large hands. So there you have it, folks. Here's 4 examples of pistols that might fit you as a person with less than large hands. I hope it's been useful. It's nice to actually see them gripped by somebody that doesn't have super large hands and has to deal with the same issues that you might. So that's all I got for you today, folks. Have a good one, and I'll see you out on the range.